Ladies and gentlemen, I salute you all in the name of the Almighty. Daniel Walusimbi is my name, the Legitimate FUFA President. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our second episode of the Football in Captivity series. I hope you'll find it so interesting, enlightening, and educative. And I also hope that you will share this information with your networks. I would like to start our episode by reminding ourselves that for you to be able to get the right answers, you must have asked the right questions. For you to be able to get the right answers, you must have asked the right questions. So our very important question to be addressed by this second episode is, how did I become the legitimate FUFA president, and who voted me to that position? How did I become the legitimate FUFA president, and who voted me to that position? I know many of you, including the sports journalists, are not well conversant of how I became the FUFA president, despite having passed through a transparent, sanctioned legal process that was covered by all the media houses for more than 2 years. And in fact, some people think even I just decided to call myself the legitimate FUFA president because I am against the illegal establishment of Scholar and Investments Limited that is feigning to be FUFA, the National Association. But well, the purpose of this Football in Captivity series is to enlighten all the football stakeholders and the public of what is really going on in our football industry. So, how did I become the legitimate FUFA president? How did I become FUFA president? For starters, there was an enactment of the statutory instrument number 38 of 2014. These are the NCS regulations governing all sports in Uganda, and they were enacted on 4th April 2014. After the enactment of these regulations, on 14th April 2014, the implementation guidelines to operationalize these regulations were made and launched at Nambole National Stadium, and where all media houses attended that launch at Nambole, including myself. But before we can go into the details of the regulations, it is important to note that the enactment of these regulations, it wasn't a voluntary government initiative, but rather from a court or from a constitutional court order ordering government to make regulations, and also barring government from recognizing FUFA Limited or anyone calling himself FUFA, not until the regulations were made. I repeat, tekwali just kwagala kwa government kuvaayo kukola mateeka gano, naye kyava mu constitutional court order eyakolebwa ng'eragira government ekola amateeka gano, era neeyongera ogiragira obutali recognizing muntu yenna yeeyita FUFA oba FUFA Limited paka ng'amateeka gano gakolebwa. So there was a constitutional court order. It is here. And it was Uganda Super League versus the Attorney General. And it reads like this. The Republic of Uganda, in the Constitutional Court of Uganda at Kampala, miscellaneous constitutional application number 41 of 2013, arising from constitutional application number 40 of 2013, arising from the constitutional petition number 22 of 2013. Uganda Super League Limited, the applicant versus the Attorney General. What does it say? It says, it is hereby ordered that an interim injunctive order doth hereby issued against the respondent Ministry of Education and Sports, National Council of Sports, and any other government organ or their agents or servants are here being restrained from recognizing or holding out FUFA Limited or any other national football associations as the only recognized national football associations, and unless within the next 30 days from the date hereof, the appropriate and necessary statutory instrument required under the S10 of the NCS Act is issued and implementation of the same commenced. It went ahead to say, the respondent Ministry of Education and Sports, National Council of Sports, and any other government organ, their agents or servants are hereby further restrained from recognizing, facilitating, or in any way supporting the ongoing election process of the new office bearers of FUFA Limited, slated for the 31st day of August 2013, until the statutory instrument mentioned in one above shall have come in effect, or until the final disposal of the constitutional petition number 22 of 2013, whichever shall be earlier, or until such or other further orders of this court. There is a court order that ordered government to make regulations, and it went ahead to stop government from recognizing FUFA Limited or anyone calling himself FUFA, not until the regulations were made. The court order went ahead even to stop government from recognizing the election process that brought Magogo into office of FUFA Limited. Now the question one would ask himself is, did this court order, was it implemented or enforced? And the answer is yes. And on February 2014, the former Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Bakablind, was found in contempt of court after writing a dubious statement that saying that he attended that General Assembly that brought Magogo into office. There is a ruling, contempt of court. He was found in contempt of court, the former minister. And this court order, as you can see, it is dated 28th August 2013. The statutory instrument or the regulations were enacted on 4th April 2014. Those are like close to 8 months. Government was barred from recognizing anyone as FUFA Limited or anyone as FUFA. But guess what? All that continued. But like we showed you in our first episode, that the people that were entrusted to protect Ugandans were the same people championing all the fraud. That's why it continued to exist. But the court order was there barring it from recognizing anyone as FUFA. But anyway, from there, let's go to our implementation guidelines. These are the implementation guidelines that were made on 14th April 2014 and signed by the former Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Jessica Alupo. All of you were there. I know all the media houses were there. What does it say? Implementation guidelines, number 1. De facto sports associations hitherto recognized by National Council of Sports, or de facto sports associations hitherto recognized by National Council of Sports will be considered as existing under the Transitional Provision Clause, Regulation number 20 of the regulations. And all de facto sports associations shall be required to convene extraordinary general assemblies of bona fide members according to the association constitutions and resolve to register the associations as bodies, corporate, and as national sports associations under the NCS Act. All those ones who were existing before the regulations were supposed to be called de facto national association. But was FUFA Limited or FUFA de facto? The answer is no, because the court order was very clear. It barred government from recognizing anyone calling himself FUFA or even FUFA Limited. So there was no anyone that was being recognized before the enactment of this statutory instrument as FUFA. And I am so happy that even in our court case against government, one of their defense, yes, they agree that they have never recognized anyone as a de facto association. Yes, in court. But I remember National Council coming out that they were dealing with FUFA Limited because it was a de facto national association. But we have their defense saying that they have never recognized them. But anyway, now where do we fall? This is where we fall in the implementation guidelines. Sports associations not hitherto recognized by NCS. There are sports associations that have not been recognized by NCS and or are incorporated contrary to the National Council of Sports Regulations number 38 of 2014. Listen carefully. Their members must constitute themselves into a new association that conforms to the requirements of NCS Statutory Instrument number 38 of 2014. Of course, what you understood that, of course, an Edgaita cannot legalize itself. So, FUFA Limited was outlawed. And there was no any way FUFA Limited could become FUFA. Those ones who understand laws, or as in who have a legal mind, understand what I'm trying to talk about. So, this is the dilemma that we are in. So, we were told to go as member associations, members of FUFA, to reconstitute ourselves into a new association. After these implementation guidelines, we were given 6 months to align ourselves in tandem with the law of Uganda. In those 6 months, the deadline was supposed to be 4th October 2014. That was the deadline to make an application to National Council as a national association. We spent 4 months begging the minister to adopt the best practice of putting the normalization committee, like her predecessor did, Honorable Nalemebita Mazile, to normalize everything, and so that our football game, so that it can have a legal regime, which she accepted, and she constituted a 8-man normalization committee, which I so happened to be one of those 8 people who were supposed to be in the normalization committee. But later, unfortunately later, it was politically sabotaged. But then after, we made consultations with the ministry and all relevant authorities and even all our lawyers, and they advised us to go and follow the law and the implementation guidelines. So that also we have the as in the authority, the moral authority to claim legitimacy to our game, which we did. So, on 2nd September 2014, we went and put in a national gazette, in the Monitor, calling other members. This is an advert in the National Gazette. It was the conveners of the Extraordinary General Assembly who were 3 members of FUFA. And that is Uganda Footballers Association, Coaches Association, and Ex-International Football Association, as you can see here. Or maybe you can go and look for yourself that newspaper, Monitor of 2nd September 2014. So, Uganda Footballers Association, signed by its administrative officer, Daniel Walusimbi, and the Coaches Association, signed by my comrade, Asaf Mwebaze, and the Football Ex-International Football Association, signed by even its founder, the late Asani Mutasa. There were conveners called other sports associations following the enactment of the Statutory Instrument and the implementation guidelines thereof. And on 16th September 2014, an Extraordinary General Assembly was conducted at Tagi Hotel. And members of FUFA from different parts of Uganda, football district member associations, came and voted. And I was entrusted with the responsibility of being their president. After that, we got everything through the process, and then we went and we were registered as FUFA, the trust. This is a certificate that we got from the Ministry of Lands as FUFA, the trust. From there, we went to the minister And also we got an acknowledgement from the former Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Jessica Alupo. This is the acknowledgement letter written on 30th September 2014. Mr. Daniel Walusimbi, FUFA President, Kampala. Acknowledgement of the FUFA Extraordinary General Assembly brief. I would like to read it to you so that you can understand. I write to you to acknowledge your brief report about the proceedings of your successful Extraordinary General Assembly. I have noted with appreciation all the steps you are taking to comply with the National Council of Sports Regulations number 38 of 2014. I hope that FUFA will do more tremendous work for the success of sports in Uganda. Suffice to mention is my regrets for my absence at that occasion, as I was scheduled to serve the nation in yet another cause as noble as your assembly. I wish you and your team an excellent leadership for the growth and development of sports. This is signed by the Minister of Education and Sports. We made sure, we called everybody to come because we did everything in a very transparent way. And after we got all this, then we submitted our application to National Council of Sports for recognition. We went and paid the fees in Bank of Baroda. Then afterwards, we went and submitted. Even all the media houses covered that process when we were submitting in. So those ones who have forgotten, or those ones who are not aware, even there is proof. This is a letter from National Council of Sports being written to me on 14th May 2016. Though they did not write it because they really wanted to, but after we had taken them to court for a judicial review that they didn't want to give us our certificate, they went. Mr. Mulamaji, Nicholas Mulamaji, who was the General Secretary by then, on 14th April 2016, they wrote to me. What does this NCS letter say? Listen carefully. The President, Football Association. Attention, Mr. Daniel Walusimbi. Registration of your association by National Council of Sports. This is to inform you that we received your application in respect of the registration of your association as the National Association for the Sport of Football. As a follow-up on your application, you can imagine after 1.5 years, the NCS Verification Committee perused your application dossier during the vetting process on Wednesday, 11th May 2016, and found out that you only submitted the underlisted documents for consideration. Listen carefully. 1. A copy of your association constitution. 2. A Form A application for registration. And 3. A copy of certificate of incorporation as a trust. This is National Council accepting that the certificate of incorporation as a trust, as a legal whatever, it is here, it is on their desk. They acknowledge that they have it. So, anyone who is saying that you will not pass through the process, this is the way we pass through the process. And this is how I became the FUFA president. That's how I became the FUFA president. And that's where we derive our legitimacy from. And by the way, you know, impersonation is criminal. And it leads to imprisonment. So, and I understand that no one is above the law, including myself. I'm not above the law. So, I dare challenge anyone to come out and charge or prosecute us for impersonation. Like the way we did with my federation people. We took government to court over the same illegalities. And the case is in High Court. We understand the law is a process. We are patiently waiting for justice. My beautiful people, I again remind you that if you're privileged to know, then taking action becomes a responsibility. I again remind you that if you're privileged to know, then taking action becomes a responsibility. Since now that you know, then what? Allow me to end our second episode here, and I hope that we shall catch up in our next episode next Monday as we tackle another very important question. So, ladies and gentlemen, cheers, be blessed. I always remain Daniel Walusimbi, your legitimate FUFA President. Thank you.